Okay, so this video is here to explain what happens when Mars goes into the third house in your birth chart. What is Mars? Mars is debts, loss, loans, brothers, um, male friends, energy, sexual energy, weapons, fire, blood, ink. Um, that's essentially what Mars is. So, what is the third house? The third house is short travels, written communication, social media, and your friends. You know, your friends from like your state, your city, your neighborhood, or whatever. It represents siblings, but particularly younger siblings. And this is a strong and great position for Mars to be in. So, when Mars goes into the third house in your birth chart, one thing that we see here is this person might have great skills working with their hands potentially. Because like I said, the third house is written communication, but Mars represents violence and weapons and stuff. So, I don't know, maybe someone with Mars in the third house, they might be good at skill with their hands. This could be fighting, or this could be engineering and working with their hands. They might be very skilled and good and crafty with those type of things. And Mars in the third house, it naturally aspects the ninth house because it's looking right at the ninth house. So this person, they could be inclined to want to learn and educate themselves. They can have this competitive thirst in nature and drive to want to educate themselves and become very knowledgeable. And they could be someone who might want to weaponize their knowledge. You know, they might use their knowledge of a particular subject, potentially depending on the person who has it, to maybe demean somebody or use that knowledge to get the upper hand on somebody. They might want to outshine their teachers because the ninth house represents teachers and gurus, and Mars is looking right at that. So they might be competitive against their teacher. This is like someone who, this is like someone who's a student and got a math teacher, and the math teacher is teaching the class, you know, this is the steps that you need to do to solve this algebraic equation, and then the student, they like, well, I could solve that problem, and I could do it in a simpler, shorter method. And the teacher, well, oh, you can't motherfucker, well then show me. Then the person go up there on a chalkboard and they bust that teacher's ass with some shortcut that solves the equation and gives the same answer. And then the teacher might be like, well, I see what you did there, but you probably can't use that equation. You can't use that same method for all your problems. You might see that type of thing happen with Mars in the third house. They might just want to outshine the master. But from the Vedic astrology perspective, Mars, like I said, aspects the fourth house and the eighth house from itself. So with Mars' fourth aspect, it looks at the sixth house when it's sitting in the third house. The sixth house is routine, everyday struggles and problems and things that we deal with on a regular, routine, daily basis. So Mars is just very competitive when it goes into the third house, with it looking at the sixth house. This is someone who feels like they can handle and deal with all the problems and tasks that life throws at them and stuff. And with Mars looking at the 10th house, because that's where Mars' eighth aspect is. With Mars looking at the eighth house, this is someone who's very goal-oriented, very driven, very success-oriented. This is someone who's just very thirsty. They feel just very ambitious. They feel very unconquerable. They feel so that they can go after anything that they desire. They could just, this is just someone who's just very confident. And it could be maybe that confidence. It could be that confidence that might maybe end up having them create enemies and make people jealous of them. Because, you know, somebody probably look at you like, wow, that person's so confident. They're so ambitious and they're doing this. They're going against all the odds. They make me look bad. And you might have people be jealous of you and stuff. Maybe your siblings might be someone who is jealous of you, particularly your brothers, because Mars represents male siblings. Mars represents brothers. And I already made a video on this, but, you know, the third house is considered to be a house of courage. And Mars is a significator of courage. And Mars is just very strong in the third house. And for you to really understand what I'm saying, you'll have to watch that video that I made on why Mars does real good in the third house and stuff. I might add it to my Mars playlist once I finish with my Mars series and stuff, but that's essentially what happens when Mars goes into the third house. So a quick recap. This person is very ambitious. This person is very confident. This person might travel a lot. They might fly out a lot. They might travel a lot. They might have a lot of male friends. They might have male younger siblings because the third house represents siblings, but specifically it represents younger siblings. This person is probably very skilled with working with their hands. Like this person could be a barber because the third house represents the hands, and Mars represents tools and weapons. So this person could be maybe a great hairstylist with their scissors and all that stuff, or a great barber with the clippers, or it might be a great fighter, it might be a good boxer and stuff. This person might potentially be very confident or aggressive or assertive on social media because the third house represents social media. And the sixth house can also represent enemies, and Mars looks at the sixth house. So this person might get into a lot of fights. This person just feels just unstoppable when it comes to achieving their goals and desires that they want to go after. And yeah, that's all I have to say about what happens when Mars goes into the third house in your birth chart. And I hope this gave you some great insight and clarity on what happens when Mars goes into the third house in your birth chart.